truth?
Oh, I'm all ears.
Okay. The truth.
I always tell the truth, even when I lie.
Why do you find it so hard to believe?
Why do you find it so easy?
It's never been easy.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth.
All I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
Hello and welcome back to Truthful Talk. I am Marco, your host. We're here again, once again, with Natalie.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. And welcome to our post-Super Bowl edition, which I think we all need a break from that, unless you're an Eagles fan. And so we are here from that. Well, before we jump into that, because I would love to, we were just having a conversation, and this is like blowing my mind right now, that Natalie was telling me that Julia Louis-Dreyfus is like connected into all of these other kind of business famous people.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. And I don't know how I didn't know that, because I'm a big, big fan. And
right.
I've been following her for decades.
Mm.
And so she's like, her dad's a billionaire, or not entrepreneur, but a businessman in the energy.
He passed in 2016, but he was a French billionaire who served as the chairman of the Louis Dreyfus Company.
Wow.
Her grandfather, her great-great-grandfather, and that's the one who's like in the shipping industry.
Right.
Her father's second cousin was one of the, does it say CEO of Adidas or was? And the owner of a soccer team, Olympique de Marseille. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the Europeans know that very well.
That's
soccer.
It's just incredible. And I think if I were to guess, the reason we don't know any of that is because she's an amazing actor.
She's incredible.
You don't have to dig into it. Like sometimes you wonder, like, how did this person get to where they are? Because their talent is not necessarily there. And then you go look, and it's like, oh, okay, they're connected in. I don't think we ever questioned that her ability wasn't just amazing. It's off the charts, I mean, and
watch anything she's in.
Yeah,
it's extraordinary.
Anything she's in, and she's so present. She commands the moment. And so maybe that's why no one ever felt like we have to look further into how someone like this got there. It's like, no, she got there on her talent.
She did.
And her hard work. I mean,
her hard work.
Talent is the hard work that she put in, but wow.
She studied theater at Northwestern University.
Okay.
Performed in a improv and sketch comedy review.
Okay.
It's just amazing. So like just amazing. That, I guess she even trains. Even someone who's, let's say, has all of this, what do you call it? Like just, blessings, I guess. But even she took it upon herself to go and train in theater, so that's amazing. It makes sense. It comes across. Even in her comedy. I mean, it's amazing.
And it's funny because on the show Seinfeld, her father's a very famous, like writer, like, and so it's an interesting tie-in that she actually is.
That's hysterical.
And now I wonder, it's like, I wonder if they created that based in her father.
I wonder.
Yeah.
And now that I think of all the jokes that she says in Veep, right? It's just so interesting because she is also part Jewish. And then it also says like she comes from, I think, has French and some kind of Portuguese. I think it's Portuguese. But anyways, like all the jokes are, when you hear it, you don't know that that's what her background ethnically is.
Right.
But I guess she can, she can say jokes like that because it's part of her culture. So it's okay. You know what I mean? It's a very interesting way that they've been able to utilize so many aspects about her. And she could make,
amazing.
Light of herself kind of.
Yeah.
But my God, she's amazing.
So anyway, that was top of my mind. I figured we're in the middle of talking about that one. It's like, okay, it's time to go live.
Watch Veep.
And so, we'll watch Veep. But no, I figured since the Super Bowl is less than 24 hours ago, it's a good time to talk about that, but not necessarily from the sporting angle, because I mean, this is not really a sports podcast. I mean, we could break down the whole game and take a look. And did you first of all, did you watch the whole thing?
I did. I watched the whole thing. And I thought it was incredible. Kudos to the Eagles out there. I think they deserved the kind of win that they got. I mean, they didn't just win. They dominated.
Yeah, go Birds.
That was a bird.
Yeah, that was
a bird. I don't know.
So, the more we do this, the crazier we get, Natalie. But it was really the Super Bowl is more than just the game. It's almost like it's a spectacular thing, right? This everything from the commercials to the kind of the pieces they put together for it to the halftime show. It's a spectacle. And then there just happens to be a game that goes along with it. But it's incredible how much was put together for this, for this game. And it was really, really interesting. And of course, I thought it would be a closer game than it was. I was very surprised.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were. What
was happening. But so a couple things, though, I think I wanted to talk about. One was, so if you haven't watched it or don't care about sports, the Philadelphia Eagles, kind of spanked the Chiefs. And
kind of.
it was a blowout.
Dominated.
They dominated.
You got to give it to them. You got to give it to them.
Dominated the Chiefs. And which was not expected. I don't think anyone expected that. If anything, maybe people expected the other way, that the Chiefs would be stronger for the Eagles. But I outside of Philadelphia country, I just don't think the nation of the NFL expected, because the Chiefs have been winning dominantly for so long.
But okay, they showed last year. They showed the clip right before yesterday's Super Bowl. They showed the whole Super Bowl of last year. It was 35-35, right?
Right.
So the game was so close that the Chiefs won by just a field goal, and then they, killed the time. They ran the clock out. So fast forward to now, when people thought that it was going to be a much closer game, when it turned out to be the way it was I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Not that dominating, but it was impressive, and the Eagles deserve all the accolades for that.
Yeah,
so let me see how you want one of those. You want one of those for that. Anyway, we'll give them some applause just because they deserve it. But what I found fascinating was the interview of Hurt going into the game, Jalen Hurt. He has such a humble presence to him going in. And one of the questions that was asked was that, okay, let's assume that you win this game. How will it change you? And his answer was interesting. He says, my goal is for it not to change me at all. He's like, because I never want to forget where I came from, and I never want to forget what got me here. And so my goal will be, even with this, to not let it define me, but just something else I accomplished, but keep my roots, basically.
Yes.
And it was such a great, humble response. It's like, wow, anyone that achieves success should remember that. And it was very telling. And I thought it was great. At the same time, Patrick Mahomes' post interview, I thought was really well done, because he took the responsibility for the team. And it's not, if you watch the game, it wasn't Patrick Mahomes' fault. It's like, there's a lot of blame to go around on, the offensive line, and a couple drops, and there's just some things that can go around. And of course, their defense didn't step up when needed. But as a leader, you take that responsibility.
Yes.
So what do you think of that?
It shows so much maturity under pressure, for someone, again, like Patrick Mahomes, who's a rare bird. Only few people can kind of walk the walk that he has done in regards to all of that, the work in the games. But for him it felt as if, of course, he was heartbroken. I can only imagine, right? But
sure, yeah.
He had an ability. How I observed it was that he's like, well, it didn't turn out the way I wanted to. They were a great team, but I take, all, like he's saying, extreme ownership. There's a book, I think it's Jocko Williams who wrote it or whatever, but it's fascinating because people think that that's kind of a foo-foo talk and not people, it's people on that level, that much pressure on themselves, they do think this way.
Yeah.
Like it starts and ends with me. I'm responsible for how I work, how I'm emoting, how I'm focusing. And I just love that even though it didn't go out in his favor, that he was so centered and he was clear in answering all of the reporters. And he goes, I could have done better and I'm going to work hard to do better. They were a great team. I mean, the way he lost, I thought spoke volumes about who he was as a human. And
I think that's just a good statement across the board. The way you lose speaks more about you as a person than the way you win.
Mm-hmm.
When things are not going well, how you deal with it and how you handle it really speaks to your character.
It really does. And I wasn't a massive fan of his before. I was always going for the underdogs in regards to Kansas City, even though I respect if I pull my, what I'm rooting for. If I pull that away, I respect all those people that are on, everybody who's on there. I think it's incredible. Right. But it's just so fascinating that I felt like I really saw who he was when he answered those questions yesterday post game. Yeah. I was like, that's incredible.
And so I think there's something to take from that.
Yep.
As we deal more in artistry rather than sports, even though there's a lot of crossover, a lot of similarities. But as artists and as actors, and even as people, most people, I think, are very quick to blame others for any sort of challenge, obstacle, downturn. I mean, anything, if something doesn't go well, our reaction is to, I don't know, put the blame on something external from us. Mm-hmm. And I think about actors on a stage. Actors are very quick to blame an audience for their lack of energy. And it's like, well, no. It's not the audience isn't up here doing this. You're up here doing this. Yeah. Right. Or you blame other things. In teaching actors in class, a lot of them will blame lack of sleep and blame, I'm so tired. I had to work all day yesterday. I had this, I had that. And it's like, okay, I get it. You might be tired. That's not an excuse. Right. You still have to put in the work to go forward. You still have to take the responsibility for what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. I don't think many people, especially nowadays, want to take that responsibility.
No, they don't. And that's why I think we have to look to people with sports or people that are spiritual leaders or someone who's in corporate, mega, whatever it is, these people that say, no, I'm the one. I can look in the mirror and I can be honest with myself and say, where am I lacking? Where do I need to readjust? Where do I need to, get better at? And when you see it, it's refreshing. You know that, wow, that's a rare bird because it's very easy. That's what it is. It's so easy to blame someone else.
Yes.
It's so easy. It's very seductive. We're like, well, they were, a tired audience. They didn't have enough coffee. They should have, it's very interesting. Right. Instead of saying like, well, what did I bring to the table today? Was it my best at bare minimum?
Yeah.
Especially to hold the stamina, the consistency in plays when you're doing it over and over and over again. It's easy to slip. It takes so much effort, so much to focus.
And like you look at film and television, film actors or on-camera actors want to blame their director.
Yeah.
They want to blame the writers.
It's crazy.
And then, many times you see the reverse of that, of a director blaming actors. And it's like, no, we're all in this together. You have to do your job the best you can. And if something falls short, that's your responsibility, own up to it.
Yeah.
And say, okay, listen, I got to learn from this. I got to do better next time.
And I will do better. It's a learning lesson and I'm okay with it. I can take it on the chin, meaning it's like, it hurt. It's my fault that this happened, but I'm going to do better next time for sure. Instead of it making you crumble or saying it's someone else's fault.
Yeah. And, and as an artist, we're always in a state of evolving. So if we're pushing ourselves, we're going to stumble. There are going to be moments where we stumble, and that's okay. But we take ownership of that stumble, especially if it's something where you didn't work hard enough or you didn't, but I mean, even if you're working as hard as you can and you stumble, that's okay. Let's learn from it and move forward. The moment we blame anyone else, and actors love to blame other actors too. Oh, well, you didn't give me what I needed in that scene, therefore it caused my performance to go down. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. The actor's job is to give, not to take.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful.
And so as long as we're giving, well, we don't doesn't matter what the other person is doing if our job is to give.
Yes.
If we're taking, we might not like what we're being offered.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're in the mindset of giving, it doesn't matter.
No.
And then we can reevaluate, and we have to do that. So I just think there's great life lessons to be taken from just that one post Super Bowl interview.
Mm-hmm. On both sides.
It's not about how you win. It's about how you handle yourselves when you don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about. That's what builds your character.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about blaming.
Mm-hmm.
Blaming is easy. And we're seeing that a lot in political discord as well, where it's just like everyone wants to just blame. It's like blaming's the easy game. Blaming's the coward's game.
It's a child's game.
It's a child's game.
It's a child's game.
It doesn't take anything to blame somebody else. It takes nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of vulnerability to look in the mirror and say, what can I do better to either lead better, to make this better, to improve myself? That takes a lot of humility. And humility is how you get better.
Yep.
You don't get better by blaming.
Did you see post Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts on the floor and he was like smoking his cigar or something? Or no, I'm sorry. Well, that's another topic, but he was actually, they found a snapshot of his phone. The camera's caught.
Yes.
Did you see that? And what it was him, that he won the Super Bowl with the Eagles this time, right? MVP.
Yes.
2 years ago when he lost, he had taken a picture, or someone took a picture of him and he got it on his phone, but it's with Kansas City, the confetti. They won.
Right.
And it was all falling all over him, and he lost. They lost.
Yes.
And he had that photo on his phone as a screenshot to remind him every day, to get better, to be better. And that took 2 years for him to get from that level to where he was defeated to now to win. I mean,
he had that on his phone for 2 years.
Mind just it chills. It's so beautiful how some people, especially at that level, high competitors, all this stuff, expect a lot from themselves, refuse to give up. It's everything.
It's so beautiful. And it shows that, I mean, he put it on his phone. He's been looking at it. I mean, every time you look at your phone, it's there for 2 straight years.
Yeah.
Knowing that this is where I want to be on the winning side of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Or this is how I felt when I lost.
Right. I don't want to feel that again.
I don't want to ever feel this again. I'll work hard to make sure that I never have this experience again. It's amazing.
I know. Isn't that awesome?
It's everything to me. I'm going to take a few photos of myself.
So, take it.
Yeah. I never want to do this again.
Jim Carrey, the story of him writing himself a check for $1 million before he made it.
Yeah.
And said, one day I'm going to be able to cash this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was after, I think it was Liar Liar or something like that. And he was able to cash it. And it's like, those are the things that are just so cool.
But you were talking about like the ability for people like that, the athletes, the Jim Carreys, it's a focus game. And it's like how they say, where your attention goes, your energy flows. So even being aware of where your attention is, even if it's somewhere else, right? It's like very interesting if you actually take a snapshot, I guess, metaphorically, of your position in life or what you're doing. And a lot of people don't want to accept that. It's very difficult to do that. So like if Jim Carrey, when he had that, check up there, he was reminding himself that focus, I'm work hard, I'm going to study, I'm going to do all this stuff. And he did everything it took to get to where he was. It wasn't just talent. It's the business of acting, putting yourself out there, schlepping to and from auditions. I mean, there's so much that goes behind the scenes too, but the ability to stay focused and it's like, that's what I want. That's what my goal is. My beacon is on that.
And, you look at someone like Jim Carrey, who I think it's a good example just because he's an easy one to look at and say it's just talent because but not realizing if you just stop and listen to his story about since he was a young kid in his bedroom, he would just put on shows for his stuffed animals type of thing. I mean, he would he's been working at this for a very long time and he's gone through a lot of adversity, and even when he got his breakout role, which was Ace Ventura, right? Pet Detective, the first role, which is in like early 90s. He had done work before then, but even that role, as silly and as crazy, and it seems like it was written for him, it wasn't. He was down on the casting list.
Wow, I can't
right?
imagine.
So many other actors turned it down before they offered it to Jim Carrey. And then it was the director's first film he directed too.
Really?
So you have Carrey, who's his first big lead role, and then you have the director. I forget the director's name, but
I'm gonna look it up.
His first directing debut, and they both went into it. Thought the script wasn't that great.
Yeah.
Thought this is going to be a bad movie, and this could kill both of our careers. So Jim Carrey said, "Listen, if we're going to do this, you have to let me just go crazy. You have to let me be as physical as possible." And you have to just let me go out there, because if we don't push it to the extreme, it's not a good story.
Yeah.
It's not a good script.
Yeah.
If, it's a dumb script, which it is. But the way the director came in and allowed Jim Carrey to get that freedom, and what Jim Carrey brought to the role, now all of a sudden it's iconic.
Yeah. And the director's name is Tom Shadyac.
Yes,
which I didn't know. But yes. So
it was his first film, and they both thought, all right, this is going to do something, or it's going to kill both of our careers because of how silly it is.
Sure. Or you have nothing to lose, and why not? Let's make a terrible movie, but have fun doing it. Have a great time doing it. Have a ball doing it. Take risks doing it.
And Carrey was so physical.
Everything.
And so he brought he didn't hold anything back of everything he had been training to that point. And just fully went there. And it was like, you know what, that put him on the map. And of course, it did really, really well.
He didn't get Saturday Night Live, right? Jim Carrey, He auditioned for it, but he didn't.
No, he was on a show called In Living Color.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so
but he didn't. Yeah,
he did not get SNL, not until after he was somebody.
Yeah, go figure. Wow.
I know, right?
But so did Jamie Foxx. I don't know if Jamie Foxx auditioned for Saturday Night Live, but he was on In Living Color.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, I think at the time, Saturday Night Live was the pinnacle.
Yeah.
And then there were these other shows, which are still very, very funny. And Living Color, I thought, was very well done. But still, it's like your pinnacle is Saturday Night Live. And then when you don't get that, you can
I preferred In Living Color. For my comedy, maybe flavor, style, profile, whatever, that they were the ones that I grew up with and I loved. I was like, Saturday Night Live was a bit, maybe adult for me. I don't know. But In Living Color, I was so happy watching that. It was incredible.
Too. In Living Color was great. The Dave Chappelle show was great. It was just there were some things that were a little more unhinged.
Yeah.
And not as network friendly or something.
It still makes me smile though. I can see images of these artists, the Jim Carreys, the Wayans brothers, all these people that of course Jamie Foxx, Jennifer Lopez was in it as a dancer. It was just so beautiful how, I don't know, they're on the edge of something, and it was just, I could just smile and giggle to myself thinking just one little clip, Fire Marshal Bill, just little just brilliance to me. Freedom. They were having a blast.
But it comes back to the second thing I wanted to talk about, which you brought up of the game yesterday, is like, okay, well, here are two teams, the Chiefs and the Eagles, coming together, and everyone was expecting it to be a very close game. They're the best of each conference coming together. They just played 2 years ago, and it was a very close game. So what makes or allows one team to outplay another on any given day, any given Sunday, right, is focus. It's focus. And that's what we train in. As artists, we train in focus. As athletes, they train in focus. If you're a gymnast, if you've done this routine 1,000 times, you can do the routine. But what determines if you do it the 1,001st time? It's focus. If we drop focus even a little, we slip.
Yeah.
Or something goes astray. And focus is a really difficult thing to teach. And when we're teaching it, it's all about outward focus, being here now, putting everything into it, right? Which is the fight and the doing and all the things that we work on in acting. But it's difficult to maintain. Meaning it's difficult. If something is not going the way you want it to go, it's difficult to pull focus back. And when you pull focus back, it's almost like a relaxation. The energy is not the same. It's even hard to describe, but you're not risking enough. You're not putting yourself out there. You're not in this moment trusting your abilities enough. Yeah. The moment you get in your head even a little bit, and it's easy to do in the Super Bowl with that type of crowd and that type of stakes and everything else. The moment you think about it, you're pulling back focus and you'll lose.
Mm-hmm.
Actors deal with the same thing. The moment an actor gets in their head, they pull back on the performance and it's not as good.
Nope. And it can't be.
It can't be.
It can't be. You can slip and let's say you think no one saw or any, I'm sure your director saw, I'm sure your partner saw. Like there's an aspect when you have teammates, right? So acting to me is also, it's a team game. I don't care what anybody says. I can't do this without a director.
Yeah.
That's a team. That's the partnership. I can't do this without my partner. I can't do this without the lighting guy. I can't do this completely. So we forget that it's like, oh yeah, I need to bring the best of what I can do every time I'm in rehearsal, practice, stage, no matter what. And you'll see people who are afraid to put that much attention or work towards something, or it's very interesting, but you can tell the difference between someone who is not afraid to do it or they do it regardless. They have that ability to focus. They have practiced. They have trusted the director themselves. They trust that concept. So they're able, that teamwork. So they're able to feel safe. But when you do feel, I believe that it's kind of about you, I don't know, it really does. It's like it's a mind trick. And you see the gymnast, what is it? Simone Biles. There's a whole Netflix, whatever documentary. And when they do like one, go on the balance beam before she's even doing it, you can see she has to get in a mindset. You have to be in some kind of focused zone because we're working with imagination. We're working with suspending reality. And when you do it only half-ass, there's a feeling, people can feel that. When someone does it with everything, there is a feeling. You can't deny that. It's amazing. So everybody, hopefully that you're able to work with, those are the people you want around you. Yes. The Eagles team and the ability that they, again, not to beat a dead horse, but they dominated Kansas City because they gave everything. It was just, you felt it. There was the undeniable.
Yeah, and it's not that Kansas City showed up deciding not to play.
Sure.
It's not like it's a conscious choice where it's like, I'm going to pull back today.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a small little bit.
Yeah.
This thing we call energy. It's a small little piece where the moment you feel comfortable, the moment you feel, okay, we got this, the moment you just take that focus off, even a little bit, and it's typically, kind of either an unconscious or subconscious process. It's not happening in your conscious mind where you're deciding that, but it's this feeling of not being as vulnerable, like it's not as important. And not to say that anyone on the Chiefs says, oh, this game isn't important. Of course it is. But as I said, this is like a 0.01% of a pullback that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I see it with actors. The biggest thing that affects actors in the worst way is a positive review.
Oh.
Positive reviews are worse than negative reviews. Now, in theater, typically when you open your show, there's media there to watch the show, and then they go and they write about their experience and what they say. And of course, critics are meant to criticize and look at what goes well with this show and what doesn't, because they have to inform the public, hey, if you're going to spend your hard-earned money on this show, here's what to expect, and here's what, and it's typically subjective, but here's what I liked about it, and I thought they did really well, but here's what they didn't do well. And so when, sometimes we get a critical review that, criticizes the actors, of course, the better actors want to say, okay, I need to work harder. It's a motivation to now, I don't want to be criticized.
Right.
I don't want to look like, oh, this is superficial, or and so they'll work harder. But when a positive review comes out and they're like, oh, this person was amazing, and you can't keep your eyes off them, there's a tendency to relax as the actor. It's like, okay, I did it. I'm there. I've accomplished what I want to accomplish. It's not a choice to not work hard, but you're not in danger anymore for that moment.
Yeah.
And then you relax, and the next performance is not as good because we're not risking as much.
Right.
And we pull back on this like 0.05, whatever it is, like this very small 0.5%. We pull back just a little bit, but it makes a huge difference in the stakes.
And you said about Jalen earlier, he says like, I don't want this to change me. Meaning is this is my standard. Me, my coach, my team, we all know what this standard is. We're all at it, right?
Yes.
None of us, we're not going to let each other fall. We pick each other up. We call each other out if we have to, but we know what our standard is. And like Rob Moss says, the teacher over here at Truthful Acting, he says like, if you believe the good review, you have to believe the bad review. Meaning is it's nonsensical to believe any of those. You do your best, obviously. And I really do believe in having a director. I believe like whatever that person says, you ride that wave together with each other that you trust.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that people have a difficult time doing. But I do see some actors, it's interesting because I feel like one of these coaches, like Romanian coach for like a gymnast, like, no, do it again. And do it again. Do it again. Because when they make, let's say accidents, we'll call them accidents. But I have a dear friend who I respect this person as an actor too. And this person knows this. It says, you need to stay in the pocket. You keep looking at me. So I'm first time directing something. Like you keep coming out. You're looking at me, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not the first time. It's not the 20th. It's now, it's been quite some time, but I can tell. But what you fail to recognize from what I see is that when you stay in the pocket, there is authenticity happening there. That if this person, the actor that's your partner, if this person says something that embarrassed you, or you're flushing, like it's blushing, you're getting natural reaction because you're in the pocket, because you're living truthfully.
Right.
But once you feel that this person made you blush or pissed or whatever it is, and then you look out to the director, you're looking for approval or acceptance. It's like, I want you to stay in the pocket. Yeah. I want you to be focused on what's happening up there as much as you can, because what you're doing is you're building another muscle that I don't want you to build. I want you to release that. I want you to trust what's up there.
Yeah.
I want you to keep going. I'm interested in seeing what happens when she or this person takes you off of their game, your game or whatever. And that's human. That's what we look for in actors.
That's what we look for.
We're like, there is no acting. We're two people. There is no character, right? We're trying to get that relationship. Mm-hmm. And if people dodge it, I'm like, I want you to stay here. And I don't know, it's my first time too, but it's interesting.
It's safe. You look out because it's a safety net.
Yeah.
It reminds you that you're acting. It doesn't allow you to go into full vulnerability. I mean, there's a lot of things that looking out, it's a common thing that actors have. But the moment, you're right, the moment they look out towards that director approval, or just to see how is the director liking this or whatever that is, it's a safety. And to me, an actor can't be great until they let go of that.
Yeah.
That's the tether. That's the safety line.
Mm-hmm.
And actors struggle with this sometimes for years. That safety line, they just can't let themselves go enough because of that fear of what's going to happen if I do.
Yeah. And
you could be good, but to be great, you have to go fully into that unknown.
Yeah.
And which is focus again, right?
That's focus. Yes.
Because the only reason to look out is if you're in your head.
Yeah.
So you're not fully focused on the other person. If you're fully focused on whatever actor or whatever's happening around you, then you won't ever even have the impulse to look out.
Yeah.
It's only if you're in your head and there's a fear to that. So again, it comes down to focus, which is the most essential thing to acting and to me, to all artistry.
Yeah.
To dancing, to singing, to playing an instrument. I mean, it's all artistry is about extreme focus into what you're doing. And that has to be honed over the years. It has to be honed in to have that ability, because inside of us, we're constantly having the impulse to pull away from that focus, to go into our head, to think, to worry. And I see in classes, whether I'm teaching emotion or whether I'm teaching like auditioning this semester, and it's amazing how quickly actors want to get down on themselves.
Yeah.
And they'll either hold back from their performance because they're worried about looking bad, which as an actor, you can't do any of this if you're worried about looking bad. Or they're worried that what they're doing is too much or too this. They're so worried about the criticism that hasn't even happened that they won't do anything that could be criticized.
Yes, instead of finding out, right, releasing that muscle, that logical mind, instead of that's in the driver's seat. They're doing two things at one time. They're acting, quote unquote, and then they're directing themselves, quote unquote. You know, I'm like, why did you stop and take 9 breaths? I want you to continue with the momentum you already had. Just jump. And they're like, you know, it's so interesting. Like, you don't have to, you're good. Because it's like, you can tell that they're struggling against themselves, you know? And it's like, it's hard maybe to teach someone that, or it's a challenge, you know, when you see it and you're like, oh man, you're so close, but just let go, have fun, explore, see. You don't have to do it the way that I said it like this the first time, and the patterns that come up, which is fascinating too.
Right.
When you have people do, let's say scene work, but they say the same thing the same way. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you can feel the rhythm that they captured, that they feel that this is it. Every time that this line hits,
it's safe.
And then they're looking for that when we say cut or we say stop, and they're like, all right, let's try it again. And they do it again, and it gets to the line.
Way.
And you know, it's very interesting. So I'm just like, I think we're looking for that ability to feel free, explore, allow yourself again, like you said, to look like a fool, but be okay with that, you know, because that's what we're looking for, the humanness in all of that. And we're all human.
We're all human.
Yeah. And we want to see that. Nobody wants to see an actor trying to be something else. Like we don't want to see you act. We want to see you be.
Yeah, live. I want to see a human being living a moment.
So difficult.
And it's so difficult. You know, I'll run an exercise in class, and usually like emotional exercises or something, but we have these exercises that we run that help us focus. And so I'll run an exercise, and I always say in the classes, look, this is an experiment. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what's not going to happen. And the result doesn't matter. What matters is that we run this, don't have any expectation, and don't worry. Whatever happens. We're going to learn either way. And sometimes we learn when stuff doesn't work, as well as when we learn when stuff does. And I'll say that like ad nauseum, right? It's like over and over and over. And yet every time we run exercises, I'm constantly hearing and seeing students that get down on themselves and that they're upset with how, quote unquote, how it went.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is number one. Your focus is on yourself. Your focus is on the expectation. Your focus is on what it should have been in your head, which you're not even allowing me then to teach you. You're not allowing me to direct you. You're not allowing that collaboration. You just have this thing in your head of this is how it should go. And if it doesn't exactly hit that, then it's like this trigger that you get down on yourself.
Yep.
And it's like, well, that is the complete opposite of everything we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's the complete lack of focus.
Yeah.
In this world. And as an actor, if you're thinking about how it's going when you're on stage or on camera or anything, if you're thinking about how it's going, you can't perform well.
No, you can't.
You're pulling back. Yeah.
You definitely, like the rehearsal, the practice, all that stuff in class, that's what it's for. It's to recognize that aspect of ourselves so that we can, I'm aware that this is happening. Okay, I'll do better next. I'll be more focused next time. And maybe, it's incrementally longer in regards to time. This scene is 2 minutes. This one is 3. We push that amount, that ability. Yeah. Because if I see someone stop and go, stop themselves and go, stop and go, it's like, okay, now I'm actually building a pattern of how I can trust you. Yeah. Meaning is I can see your ebbs and flows of the ability to focus and then not, and then you're up and then, so it's inconsistent. And because we're looking for consistency as well, just like in these athletes, they're consistent with their discipline, even at the gym, let alone doing what they do to rehearse to be on the field. Consistency, discipline. And that's what we're, hopefully trying to help students. Everything I say to myself too, to make sure that I'm also doing those things. But it's so very important. Like you have to catch yourself like, oh yeah, I came out of it when, I was here or something. So the next time I'll be more focused.
Right.
But you have to be aware that, you're coming out of the pocket is what I call it. You're out of the pocket.
And it's an interesting journey. As the artist, and how we have the classes structured, we know it's a long game. We know it's going to take time. We can't just jump into it because it's a paradigm shift of just how we see the world and how we think about things.
Yeah,
And no matter how many times I say it's not about the result, it's only about the attempt. And then we're going to talk about it and learn. Sometimes it's so ingrained inside of us, we can't allow ourselves to do that. And so like right now we're doing exercises that allow us to connect to like authentic meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, no matter how much I say it, like right before we run, it's not about the emotion. Don't worry. I'm not looking for an emotional result. It has nothing to do with that. It's just, I want you to connect to something authentic. And we're using imagination work and all this other stuff. So it takes time to develop that. But still, after every exercise, there's always, a few that will be really down on themselves because it didn't have the expected result.
Mm-hmm. That they saw previously, or they expected, like from other students, or or themselves, what they expected of themselves. And,
right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so it's, and which is why this is not something, because then the other side of this is everyone wants it right now. It's like, well, listen, we're training you to we're training your impulses. We're training you to react differently to these different things, right? You normally react by getting down on yourself. Now we're reacting to say, okay, we're going to step back and just evaluate and see how it is.
Yeah.
And let's try it again. And sometimes that could take years to retrain all those synapses in our head that are so quick to criticize ourselves when something doesn't go the way we want. And acting, artistry, sports is all about just doing it over and over and over, not for a couple days, not for a couple months, years, years and years and years until we've developed that process.
Yeah. And
it's difficult.
Yeah. And you said it just earlier, and I wish you said we're changing, like we're shifting your paradigm.
Yeah.
I mean, you said that, and I looked at the ceiling here. I'm like, oh my God, it's exactly what it really truly is. It's not just work on how to be an actor. It's like you're being aware of where you as a human being are losing focus. You are talking negatively to yourself. Like now we're doing that to be better, like, good actors and be able to carry roles with weight and truth and honesty and do our best. But at the same time, it allows you to get a healthy conversation with yourself. It allows that, like, oh, there it is. The self-talk, if again, Simone Biles or Jalen Hurts or even, Patrick, if they say like, I'm a piece of shit, excuse my language, whatever, I can't do this. This isn't, that's self-talk, right? They're not going to do what they did. There's no way.
Right.
They understand paradigm shift. And that's that's the mastery. That's what I think every human, we were fascinated by, because in spite of the massive challenges that they have gone through, or the pressure they're under in these lights with the whole world watching, they're able to have a self-talk that they've worked on for years to make sure that they are in the zone constantly. And it's incredible. It brings every human to their feet, because it's amazing when we see a human being do that.
Right. And it just takes, just being able to do it. And in no way are we saying that you should be satisfied with good enough. Like you should be satisfied with, oh, it didn't go well, but that's okay. It is okay. But I don't want anyone to negative self-talk.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. Don't criticize. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge anyone else. Just go and do it again. And do it again.
Yeah.
And do it again. And when you've done it 1,000 times, 10,000 times, like, when you've done it that many times, and just understand that it's like, when actors get down on themselves, like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm like, this is your third attempt. You have 997 more attempts before you're going to even understand it. It's like you're very at the beginning.
Yeah.
But so many people, not just actors, this is really anything. They just want it now. It's like they want to pick up something, try it, and do it. It's like, if it's that easy, then one, it wouldn't be a skill, not a good one. It wouldn't be something we consider a talent, which is a really well-developed skill over a long period of time. And it wouldn't be anything anyone wants or desires as a consumer, because it's so easily accessible, right? I mean, anyone can do it. Acting, artistry is something that takes time to develop, and we have to have patience with ourselves.
Yeah.
And we watched in the Super Bowl with some of the best athletes in at least that arena
Mm-hmm.
with, the NFL. You have the Chiefs, who have proven to be one of the best teams out there with one of the best head coaches,
For
and one of the
years.
best quarterbacks and everything else. And they got out focused. So it's amazing that even when you're at that level, it's still possible to pull back just enough, not purposely, but if you're not on your A game, someone else will come along and knock you off.
Mm-hmm.
And as an actor that you would go out and do 50 performances, 100 performances, 500 performances of the same show, you have to be on your A game every single moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to do. And it starts in class, and it starts by quote unquote failing a lot, meaning things not going the way you want them to go.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to start off being Denzel. It doesn't work that way.
Denzel didn't start off being Denzel.
Didn't start off, you're right. It took him years and years and years and years and decades to get to where he's at. It's, so I think that's an important lesson. Focus. That's what you go to acting class for.
Mm.
And that's why you have to find an acting class that really understands that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about what happens on the surface. It's not about where to stand and how to look and how to say lines. And none of that matters. It's about, can you exist in this moment? Can you put all of your focus on who's across from you? And can you truthfully exist right here, right now? And that's hard to do.
But it's possible. If you put in the work.
That's it. Okay. I think we stopped there for today, but good talk, Nat.
Good topic, yeah.
Listen, for all the Eagle fans out there, go Birds. You did it. You did it. And congratulations. That was a bird.
Absolutely.
But congratulations. It's very well deserved. And for all the Chiefs fans out there, you're going to be back. You know you will. Just keep up the fight. You got it. And for every NFL team fan out there like me, then I don't know. Maybe one day it will happen.
Dark.
I don't know. That's,
Keep the hope alive. There's always next year. That's right.
There's always next year. Yeah, usually by the fourth game in, I'm saying, well, there's always next year. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. We will be back in a week. But until then, do something fun. Do something for yourself. Reduce all the negative talk in your head and the self-criticism. It's just not helping you or anyone else.
Nope.
Not at all. Remember to treat yourself and others with kindness and reward yourself for the risks that you take. All right, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to learn more about our studio and what we do, you can find us online at truthfulacting.com. And check out truthfulactingonline.com for our Learn at Home at Your Own Pace courses.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
I know what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.